day, everyone. I'm not centered. How's your situation over there, wife?
Good.
Cool.
I'm doing good.
Cool.
I love this purple vibe we got going on.
And we do have a little bit of a purple vibe. Listen, we're doing something. Well, so we got lights for the background, but I have all the other lights off because last week our central air broke, right? Which some of you are like, oh, boo-hoo, we don't have central air. I get it. But my central air unit, when we moved into this house 15 years ago,
yes,
someone came and looked at it and they were like, yo, this thing's not going to work. Like, you're not going to make it.
They called it a dinosaur.
Yeah. So we moved in May. They were like, this isn't even going to work for the summer. And every time I've been calling the same dude for the last 15 years when I need something. And he just, every time he goes, this thing doesn't make sense. And
it's
I'm like
a beast.
And that's blessed. We got the blessed air conditioner, but it's been broken. So we've all been sleeping in the living room.
I like that we just said we're blessed and then now it's broken.
But
really, it's a simple fix. We're just waiting for him.
He's just busy. So, we're trying to keep the lights low, keep all the shades down so to optimize the coolness factor. Because we have like one tiny little air conditioner in the window. Because why own air conditioners when you have central air? So that's it. Listen, wife, one of the things as you're walking out of the room to go finish making coffee, one of the things I'm really been thinking about this week is this idea of, I was listening to I thought that would turn my music down. I think this is turn my music down. One of the things I've been thinking about this week before we jump into your questions, is this idea of like, I think many times in my teaching career, I've gotten to a place where like I've hit like a pinnacle and something has gone incredibly well. A project went well. I got a great review. I got a really great raise. I took the kids on an unbelievable trip. And there's this feeling that you can get when you get there of like, oh man, like I did it, like I made it. Like this is the best. But I think what we need to always be looking for is that next peak, is that next thing that we're going to go on to. And that can be a little bit daunting, but maybe I don't know if this is just like certain people are more, and like, I don't know if more people are like just naturally like that. I don't want to make it like that's better than if you're just cool. Like if you're just like content and where you are, like, I don't know. Now I'm thinking out loud. So I think if you're content with where you are and you're happy, go for it. Like that's the ultimate kind of like goal. But like, I just think there's something to looking towards like, what's the next mountain? What's the next hill? What's the next place we're going to go?
Even if you're content, you still need goals. I think there's a difference in being content and happy with your life and not needing to make big monumental shifts and changes and huge goals. But everybody has goals, even if they're small and personal. Like even if you're content and happy in your life, I think it's when we don't have goals and we don't strive to learn or grow in any capacity is when we really like shrivel as a human.
Yeah. Shrivel.
Mm-hmm. I don't want to say we die. Like you laugh, but I work.
We shrink.
You shrink, you shrivel, same thing.
Shrivel just made me think of George Costanza when he got out of the
pool. Oh, goodness.
And with that, welcome to Sunday Night Teacher Talk. I'm CJ Reynolds with my co-host, the not so secret wife. Yeah. So we're here happy to take your questions about anything, about school, about life, about both. But it's just, us two and the dog sitting in here and try not to sweat to death. So
I was gonna say in our hot laundry room.
Yeah, you put your questions in the chat and then we'd be happy to answer anything that you've got. Just on the front end, if you're new, right, there's like a ton of stuff that we do. And so you can find basically everything at realrapwithreynolds.com, whether that is you're looking for professional development at your school, you're looking for a keynote at your school, you're looking for, we are planning workshops and I'm going to talk about those in a little bit, but we have 3 more workshops that I worked out that I'm going to do live. And so those are just like, there's tons of stuff. There's a book, there's all kinds of things. You can go right to realrapwithreynolds.com. But I think one of the best things that we ever did was we had folks hit us up after we did Sunday Night Teacher Talk one week. And they were like, yo, can you make a Facebook group? Because we want to keep the conversation going. So we started it and there's over 5,000 people in the Facebook group from all over the world. And I would argue and I've said this to companies that I've like talked to, that we have the best Facebook group, I think, for education on the planet, because it's not just people complaining, it's people like getting after it, and doing great stuff. It's a place where I think, when Seth Godin says people like us do things like this, it's teachers that are cut from this sort of cloth are getting after it and doing things in this sort of way for young people, and for their communities. And I just think that there's a lot of that happening there. So if you're new, that's what's up. What you got, bud?
All right. Our first question is coming from Gregory. He's saying, I have several ESL and special education students in one class who all need my attention all at once, it feels. Do you have any advice to best serve them? I just laugh because I'm like, oh gosh, that's like our house on a normal day.
Yes. So Gregory, I taught for, I don't even know how many years now, in a co-taught classroom where, and sometimes not co-taught, like sometimes I'm just by myself. And sometimes I've had co-teachers that were, do we want to say worthless? They just weren't very useful or participatory in what we were doing in class. Now, I have been blessed with some really great people, like Miss C that I co-taught with the last 3 years, is maybe the best co-teacher I've ever had, and other people in varying degrees, but whatever. So my point is, I've had a lot of experience with like classrooms that have a lot of attention needing children, like, and act like not just for their social emotional well-being, but like they actually need you to walk them through and do things. I think when that's the case, there's a couple of different things that you can do there. One, look, the fact that kids need your help, if the fact that kids are asking for help is a really big deal. It means they're not just mailing it in, right? The fact that someone is asking you is honoring you with their vulnerability, with what they need, whether that's social emotional or, it's just based academically. That's a big honor. So sometimes it's important to just sit back and remember that piece, that, man, like when a kid comes to talk to me and tell me about what's going on in their life, what an incredible honor that is to be able to have this position. The second thing is, there's a couple of things you can do. One, I think it's rigging the game so that kids can win. So you might want to think about the level of difficulty at which your work currently stands and figure out if maybe you can do something that is not necessarily easier, but it's chunked differently so that kids aren't working for long, broad amounts of time, that it's a simple task that you're doing. And part of the reason I do this is, it's life. I know that when I deal with my own children, if I give my son even 2 or 3 things to go do, he forgets. He's got like maybe the first one and then the second one. Dad, wait, what are we? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is what he says all the time. I'm sorry. It's so sweet. What did you want me to do? And so it's, bro, I need you to go water the flower on the porch, right? Is one of his tasks. All right. Next, I need you to unload the dishwasher. Okay. Next, I need you to go out and get all the stuff out of the car from the beach yesterday. Now, if I said, bro, I need you to, and this doesn't sound like much, right? But if I go, all I need you to do is water the flower, unload the dishwasher, and unload the car. He'll go, okay, without fail, comes back in like 30 seconds. I'm sorry, Dad. What did you want me to do again? So some students just they're doing the same amount of lifting. They're doing the same amount of work, the same amount of reading, same amount of questions, but you're just breaking it down into segments. And that's why I'm really big on timing kids, because I think timing kids in those little sections creates a little bit of urgency, lets them know that they don't have forever. The other thing that I have found a lot of success in, there's a student, Ham, that was in a lot of my videos, and Ham should have been in an honors class. It's his behavior got him out of the honors class is what happened. Even though I don't think that should even be a thing. I don't think behavior should dictate whether or not you're in an honors class. That's a whole nother story. But Ham was in our class. He loved our class. I taught him 2 years in a row in 9th grade and 10th grade. And Ham was one of those kids that was really high functioning. And like he just got school. It just made sense to him. But then in his remainder of time, he would be like a total pain in your. He's a pain in your ass. We're just gonna say like
Ham, it's all right. We love you.
We do. But but he's one of those kids that like you love so much, but like bro, you're
Drove you
making
nuts during the
my
day.
eyebrows are turning white now. Like that's like you already finished with the hair. Now the eyebrows are turning white. So
Some days
what
I
I
feel
would
like that on
do
my own.
was empower him, say, Ham, look, I love what you're doing. I need you to help other dudes out. Like I need a second, like a clone of me. We need some multiplicity here. And so Ham loved that. And he would go and he was great. I thought he was kind of going to be a jerk to other kids because he was pain in my ass. Why wouldn't he be a pain in other people's asses? He was great at that. And so it became occasionally some kids worked alone, some kids were put in groups, and then I would take the kids that were the higher achievers, the kids that understood more, the kids that had a grasp on what was happening, and I would pair them up with certain individuals. And it was never, ever, ever done where anyone knew that, like, you know, like, oh, I guess I'm not smart. They always put someone with me, or they always put the smart kid with me. Or it was like you have to do it like a little bit more nuanced. Maybe sometimes you pair kids up that don't even need to be paired up, just so to create the illusion that like this is what's happening. But those two things I had a lot of success with. And I mean, I could give you 20 other points, but that's what I'm going with right now.
That's one for now. All right.
Love.
The next question is coming from Kim. She's asking, when you play background music for the class while they're working, especially hip hop, how closely do you make sure songs are clean/censored? I teach 10th grade in urban Philly.
So Kim, there's a couple of different things I've done over the years. You could, let me ask this. Here's my ADD. Kim, do you have a brother named Scott?
Oh,
just I'm curious.
That's so interesting.
I grew up with a guy named Scott Pickard that lived in Jersey, and was a part of like a friend circle for a while. Just curious. So there's a couple of things that I've done. One, you can find clean versions. So you type in like someone's like, yo, I want to listen to, you know, Drake, Jay-Z, Lil Uzi, whatever it is. What's the clean version? The other thing I've done is... Wait,
you can look that up on YouTube?
You can look it up on... I look it on YouTube.
So you just look up a clean version of that person's song, a song specific, or like just the artist? Are you looking up?
The song. Okay. You can also look up... so I think it's worth the investment for your school to pay the $15 a month to get YouTube like premium, because then you don't have to listen to ads. So, but it's worth asking, right? I don't think I'm in this space now where like I don't think teachers should be paying for anything in their classrooms. Like schools, like there's money for this stuff, and there's money being wasted on other things. And if you don't ask, the answer's already no. And I know that last year I got into this place where I was charging everything. I was putting everything on the school. But what I found out was that we had such high turnover that none of the other teachers were spending any of their allocated money for like, we get like $50 for incentives during the year. So I'd use it to pay for a cereal party or two. But when I found out that no one else was doing it, that means there was hundreds, if not thousands of dollars in the account for the English department. So I was like, yo, can we do another cereal party? Can we do this trip? Can we go to this place? Can I get a new whiteboard that like you can erase and it actually comes off? And I got everything approved. So if you don't ask, the answer is already no. The other thing is you can look up, sometimes I don't play songs because I don't want kids to sing along, but I'll play beats. So I look up Drake style beats and then find a playlist and play that, or I create my own playlist, or I just put on like lo-fi hip hop beats. That works a lot of the time, but sometimes that makes kids tired because they're too chill. So you have to figure out which one. And then you also want to be obviously really careful about like, what is the background? Because there's like, you can either have like a panda bear writing a book in the woods, or it's like some young girl in her underwear laying on the couch playing a video game. I don't know, whatever the hell else they're doing on there. So like, just be thoughtful of that. I will say my favorite thing in last year was I found DJs that were doing sets on YouTube that were like old school hip hop sets. So it still had words. It was still hip hop. You didn't have to listen to the whole song. It was like a minute or two of each song. And I loved it. There were DJs I found that did all Michael Jackson stuff. So it was like everything from like more like Michael Jackson solo artists to Jackson 5 to everything in between.
Do you have someone that you can recommend that they can look up to start that? What was the DJ that did that?
How can I do this? I'm gonna
just say one. They can Google it.
I don't remember. So DJ Jazzy Jeff does great sets. Questlove, I don't know if Questlove has anything on YouTube, but DJ Jazzy Jeff, type in like DJ sets and it's all over the place. I mean, he plays all kind. He'll take he'll take Toto, Africa from Toto, and then turn it into the Jackson 5 and turn it into Black Sheep and turn it into like everything else. It's awesome. So that's how I do.
Don't get them started on that.
No, I get it.
Okay. Well, some people said that they wanted to just note, they said the clean versions have no lyrics at all online.
Some of them.
Yeah.
But some of them are like the radio version.
Right. And then someone else said sometimes clean versions aren't so clean. So listen closely.
Yeah. Yeah. So like, and I noticed this last night. There's this radio station in Philly, 105.3, and on Saturday nights they do like old school like mix. It's like R&B and hip hop mix. It is, man, it makes me want to go do errands. It's so good. But
wait, what night is that on?
It's on Saturday nights. It's the one we listen to all the time.
Wow.
In the car. So last night they were playing House of Pain came on.
Oh,
and
that
they
was
had the
yeah.
If your B steps up, I'm smacking the right. They bleeped all of that out. But if you listen to it on a different radio station, they might just bleep out like ho, but not the B word. Like they're right, because it's like what is safe to certain people, right? Mm-hmm. So it's like, or for certain grades or for certain environments or for certain students. So yeah, something to be thoughtful of. Go ahead, dude.
All right, our next question is coming from Patty Cakes 312.
Love it.
Asking any ideas about a movie or TV show that deals with setting goals. I teach 10th grade. Did a unit in decision making. Now we'll talk about goal setting.
There is, I don't know how to pull it up. So I would say there's a TED Talk that I talk about in my book that I like that lends itself to that. Not exactly, but it's this guy, Phil Hansen. If you look up Phil Hansen, Embrace the Shake. There's a whole chapter in my book about it. There's another guy that I'm going to forget his name. I'm going to post it. Can you make a note? I'm going to post it. I'll pin the comment after we're finished, and I'll put that link in there. But it's this guy. It's a TED Talk. I'll know it's TED Talk goal setting. Oh. There's another dude that does talks about how he has found incredible. He has like severe ADHD, but he's gone on to like achieve world records. He's done all this incredible stuff. He's a millionaire, and he's done this by breaking all of his daily activities into 10-minute increments. And so that's how he grows what he does. And that every time I show it to my students, they're a little bit bored in the beginning, but it is always something that they walk away with of like, oh man, like I could do 10 minutes.
So interesting. Like, actually, that's a question that just came up. I always look at what's at the bottom and at the top because I have to say it both. So I just saw someone ask like tips for dealing with like when you're a teacher that's dealing with your ADHD or dyslexia, like how do you deal with those? You don't have to answer that now. I want to be fair and go to people. I know. I saw you ready to bite. Did you answer that one?
Yeah, I was going to do a biting thing. Never mind. That was
don't do that. Okay, let's move on. Stephanie Henry is asking, I have such a wide range of student academic level. I teach grade 6 math, and I have some testing at 2nd grade and some at 10 and up. Differentiation help.
So, I'm curious if anyone in the group has like for math. I know how I deal with that in English. But I think for math, I'm wondering how are folks navigating that space when you have kids on such wildly different levels? I think part of it is making sure that kids are getting the help that they need. So like making sure you're like talking to your special education department, making sure that students are getting the help that they need, making sure you're talking to parents and making sure that they're aware of where their students' abilities are. And and if it's safe or if it's something that your school does, it's making sure parents are discussing these things with the special education department. I know some schools, like the teachers aren't allowed to suggest that. Like, and I've even been told in the past, like, well, watch how much you tell people that. I
think by law, you're actually not supposed to say you like.
Well, I'm not going to say that I have before, but I have. So breaking the law. So the other thing is, I think, communicating with parents. And one of the things we're always saying is that like when you're communicating with parents, you want to make sure that you are finding out like what has worked for that student in the past. So maybe the parent already knows that there's a struggle, maybe that there's not, maybe the IEP isn't a good enough, or it's not strong enough, or the school doesn't offer the services that are really going to help. So in that case, what has worked best in the past and what has not. And then I think it's talking to your team also, like going to your grade level team and saying like, look, here's a problem and I want to find a solution, right? This is a little different than just saying that there's a problem. Here's a problem and I want to find a solution. How can we work together as a team to support these individuals? And then really identifying those kids that are struggling. And then I think the other piece is, Steph, is like, once you understand where people are, it's helping those kids to see their improvement. So if you started off the year on a second grade level, can you get to 2.5? Can you get to 3? Can you get to 3.5? Like, what is the goal? And then those building belief in those young people that they can do better if they kind of trust the process. But that process has to come from you all. It's not something like a sixth grader is going to come up on their own, but it's like, here's the thing. Here's what we identified. Here's how we've gotten you help. Here's how we're going to help you grow. Here's how we're working together as a team. And we're talking to your family and we're talking to the grade level team. And I've been talking to our special education department and we're doing everything that's possible. Now we just need you to trust that this is actually worth something and that you can do it. And then I think building a plan around young people like that, it also just makes you feel seen and cared for as well. And that can be enough to make kids like really, really want to try.
All right, our next question is coming from Linda. She's asking, hi, Reynolds, how do you know when the school you're teaching at is right for you? What are some of the key things that you look for in a school as a teacher?
So, the funny thing is that I often first see the things I don't want to be a part of. So for me, I don't do micromanaging. I like autonomy. I prefer autonomy, and that speaks to the kind of teacher I am. I realize that not everyone likes autonomy or wants it. I look for, like, is it somewhere that people seem happy? Like when you walk around, are kids getting in trouble in the hallway? Are they running around and it's wild? Like, look, I teach, I taught in inner city for 16 years for a reason, right? Like I wanted to go somewhere that like not everyone wanted to go. I felt called there. Like that was my mission, was to be somewhere like that. And so that's going to come with a certain amount of dealing with students that have been through trauma, dealing with violence in the neighborhood and other factors. But when you're there, it is, I've although I was in a school where like we were regularly shut down, had to close our doors because there was a shootout in front of the school, right? Were the people that I was with about that though? Because I think, I've worked also at inner city schools, and I worked in Camden. I'd say it was split. There were a lot of folks that seemed like they couldn't get a job anywhere else. So it's like, are the people that are at your school, are they by and large, I don't know that you're ever going to get everyone, are they by and large about the work? Are they about the kids? Is the work that we're doing focused on student achievement and not just the school looking good, or checking boxes or something like that? Is the pay good? Gang, if you can help it, do not live under your means so that you can do work, right? Your kids should come before everyone else's kids. And so that's just part of my hierarchy in life anymore, right? Is that like my students used to come before my family, used to come before my kids, and that's not the case. Not to mention, my children at home don't benefit when my students at school have a good day. But my students at school definitely benefit when home's going well. Like y'all know it. When home's not going well, school sucks. Like school, or it's not as good as it could be. So it's looking for pay that's going to, like, in Philly, I'll say that, like, simple things. Like in Philly, we got paid all summer. And in Camden, we didn't. So I had to have 4 jobs in the summer to keep that going. I look for things like, I know this seems trivial, but I want my own room. I don't mind sharing a room, but I don't want to move. I don't want to move from room to room to room. I don't want to teach 7 different subjects a day, or 6 different subjects in 6 periods. I want freedom to be able to bring people in if I want, freedom to be able to go on trips if I want. I want to know that, like I have some say in the reading list because I want it to be inclusive. I want my books and the work that we're doing in class to reflect the students that I'm teaching. So those are just some of the things. I want to be able to ask, like, the school, like, what are you doing about teacher retention? And have it be an answer that is teacher focused. Like, it's less about putting more on teachers and more about how can we let teachers just teach and not have bus duty and lunch duty and bathroom duty and hallway duty and then teach 5 to 6 periods a day. What, bro? What? Like that kind of stuff. And I will say that like my school in West Philly, when I went there, when I started, all they did was just keep taking things off your plate. There was no sign in. You didn't have to sign in when you came in. Why would I sign in? I'm a grown up. You didn't have to clock in. You didn't have to have even a parking pass. It was just like park wherever you want. They took away. We didn't have to do lesson plans. As long as you had at least 2 to 3 years experience, you didn't do lesson plans. Unless you had like really bad reviews and then like that, they thought that was something that was going to help you. There was complete autonomy. I picked all the books that I wanted to read. I could go anywhere. I could do anything. I could go to anywhere in the school without asking. And I have to ask permission to take my students outside. And I have to ask permission to play a movie or a TV show to talk about what we were doing. It's just like, it was incredible. That's it. Sorry, I could talk forever on that topic.
That was a little rant there.
We're getting some questions I really feel like I could go with.
All right. Well, let's see if you can go with this one. This is from Esther. Got any ideas for helping an inclusion classroom keep volume under control when having discussions? I feel like it's super tricky in science class to do, and yet there are kids who need a quieter environment.
Yes. So I thought that was Spanish at the end for some reason. I thought it was quieter environment. I was like, is it Latin? I'm so slow on the pickup sometimes. So Esther, I would say, all right, I'm going to speak on both sides of this. One, I think volume is something that gets teachers nervous, but it's okay. I think loud classrooms are okay. Now, are we just being loud or are we practicing active listening? Right. So those are two different things. Because I would say my class is loud a lot of the time and I just don't care. Like I want kids to be like, it's just loud. Like everyone's talking, it just gets loud. So does the cafeteria, right? It just gets loud. However, are we actively listening to one another? So when we are having discussions, what I lay down for kids is, look, this is why it's important to be quiet when we're having a conversation. One, we need to be able to hear everything everyone's saying, and you need to be able to practice the patience to wait your turn. That when any good argument is happening, you are not simply listening and thinking of the thing you want to say next. So oftentimes what we do is we listen for a certain amount of time, and then you think of what you want to say next, and you stop listening to everything else. That doesn't even make sense. Like you need to be able to listen to their whole argument for a couple of reasons. One, it's respectful. Two, if you want to really speak back against what someone is saying or add something on, you want to make sure, my man, thank you, my man. I don't know.
Not really.
Oh, so you're my woo man. Wife made me coffee. Sorry. So you want to be able to hear the whole argument so you can speak against it, right? When you see two lawyers in there, a lawyer doesn't just stop thinking or listening. They're constantly listening to their opponent to see if they can best them. So it's just in your own self-interest to listen carefully. Also, we need to practice that people's stories are important, and I want people to feel comfortable sharing. And if you just keep cutting them off, you're not going to be allowed to share your story, right? So like that's part of it. So it's really to me about breaking it down. And look, I've had this said to me, and I know that this is annoying, but it is what it is. Leaders are repeaters. So you have to constantly say, when you go to say to kids, why do I have to say the same thing all the time? Because you do, because they're kids and they don't remember everything. And you're not the only teacher they have. And if the other teachers like kids get away with it, sometimes it's hard for them to remember, oh yeah, we're in this class and this is how we do things in this class when this is going on. So that kind of thing is important as well. But, to me, it's really having those conversations with kids, not like they're kids, but like they're adults. And you're respecting them, but helping them to understand why this is important. I think the other thing is, the last thing I'd say is giving kids a time limit, man. Make it like the Oscars. You can say your piece, but you have 30 seconds. Because we all know there's certain dudes that will go on and on and on and on in perpetuity for the rest of forever. And it's like you have to tell them, like, you have 5 seconds left. You have 3 seconds left. You have 2 seconds left, whatever it is. And then stop. I want someone starts talking over them. Tyler, I really want to hear your opinion. I'm giving him 20 more seconds, and then we're going to hear from you. So I want you to do this. I want you to listen so well that you're gonna be able to repeat back his argument when I ask you about it. And then that is active listening skills as well. Go.
All right. Next is Justine asking any questions for welcome back activities when you loop with your students, not the typical get to know you stuff. Grades 9 through 12.
So one idea is when I taught 9th grade, we did the Life Odyssey, which is something I've talked about here forever. 10 moments in your life from birth till now that got you to be the person that you are today. The other thing is when I had the same students in 10th grade, it became more about what are 10 goals that you have in your life. So what is something that you're looking forward to in your life? What are and I don't just want some half-ass answer. I want to know where do you want to live? What kind of house do you want to have? So some kids are like, yo, I'm going to live in West, but I want to have a mansion. And it's like, dude, there's no mansions in West Philadelphia. There's not even a room that you could buy. Are you going to level a block and put something in? Where are you putting it in the park? I don't understand where this is happening. So where do you want to live? Who's living with you? What do you want to drive? What kind of job do you want to have? Where are you going on vacation? Then I would have kids write a descriptive paragraph about that, write a why to that. Because sometimes it was because, they want to take care of their mom. They want to have their brothers and sisters to have somewhere to go. They want to, revitalize a local basketball court so kids have a safe place to play, things like that. And then I have them price it out. So what we're doing is sort of creating this life vision, which is something I've done extensively, where I know exactly what my ideal life will cost. And then, and what I want to have happen in that life, what life looks like when it's like that, but then pricing it out. I think that's just a really good life skill. And so that's something that I've done with students as well that they loved. And it was really fun to hear about all right, now I have a sense of where you came from. And now I have a sense of where you're going. And then you can tie those ideas back into lessons for the rest of the year. You can attach those whys, use those whys when you're having conversations with students that are disenchanted or don't want to do work. And it's yo, I thought we were helping grandmom out so she didn't have to work 2 jobs for the rest of her life. So now we're not doing that. We're just we're going to tell grandma she has to keep, working at CVS and at some factory all night for forever, or are we getting stuff done? I'm just curious. And so that helps when I'm talking to kids too.
All right. The next question is coming from Mr. Burke. Hey, Reynolds, I just remembered you talking about your own challenges with undiagnosed ADHD dyslexia. Any tips for someone in a similar boat trying to make teaching sustainable?
So, I didn't know. The funny part is this first. So I didn't, like you said, I didn't know I was undiagnosed ADD and undiagnosed dyslexia, right? And so the fact of just knowing that that's a thing is so utter, for those of you, there's tests you can just do online, to give you a sense. You don't have to go to the doctor. You can do a test online to just give you a sense. And that's so freeing to know, because then you're just not a mess. It makes things make sense. And it doesn't necessarily give you an excuse, but it gives you a reason of oh, okay. So then you have to come up with best practices to do the work that you're doing. So I find that meditation helps me a lot. I meditate every single morning. I have done it for years. I will meditate for anywhere. It depends on my timing. 10 minutes, don't love it. But I'll go as long as 45 minutes to an hour sometimes when I'm meditating in the morning. If I can hit that flow state, then I'm just man, I don't even want to get out.
I want to say that I think that that's an answer that most people don't love, but in my research in focus and how to have better focus, because I also just struggle with focus, and I wonder if I have an undiagnosed ADHD, because I'm just always all over the board and I flip from a million different things and never complete things. But in a bit of that research I came across, it's really meditation is the best tool for that. It is the process of it's the training. If you want to train to have better focus, you literally have to do an exercise for it. And meditation is the exercise for it. Yeah. I was oh, that's not the good answer. That's not the answer I wanted to
That's
search
not
for.
what I wanted.
That's not what I wanted to hear.
I don't want to meditate.
Okay. That's usually the answer in life. Is never what I want to hear.
When I'm sitting alone in my room and I'm trying to get work done and I'm distracted by 57 other things, I can literally just take a deep breath, and it's almost like you're dipping back in
to that meditation skill.
space.
Yeah.
You're like, all right. And then you can actually get stuff done. The other thing is I break things into short time frames, right? So like I will say, like, I have this, I literally just got rid of it because I got to make a new one. Robin Sharma talks about this idea of the tight bubble of total focus. So I will put on either a timer or I'll put on a playlist. And at the end, I only have this time to do this task, right? So like this task is all I'm doing right now. I am not multitasking. If something blinks on my phone, I turn it over. My family knows not to come in and interrupt me. They know not to let the dog or the cat back into the office because they will stand at the glass door and make noises until I let them in. I wear AirPods to cut out external, so I'm not hearing my neighbors argue back here or construction going on or anything. I'm getting into this tight bubble of total focus, and this is the singular thing that I can do. I think it's Neil Strauss says that he limits what he can do. Also, there's no snacks, there are no drinks, there are no anything. You're only doing a thing. He does it in front of a window. And when he's writing, so if he's writing a new book, he said, I have two options. I can either stare out the window or write the book. That's the only two things I can do.
Oh my gosh, that would be awful for me. I love staring out the window and looking at
But then you know you're not getting it done. But
True.
You can't like get up and go fold laundry.
Yeah.
You can't take a break and go to the bathroom. You're not going to go make some tea. You're not going to like
eventually I would do the thing that
So you got those two things that you can do. So stare at a wall then, right? Like it's like I can either stare at that wall or I can do work. Those are the only two things torturous. I can do. And what I find is that I get into these rhythms where I'm getting stuff done. The other thing is I will, and this has driven my wife crazy forever, but I always say it, just do it for 5 minutes. Pick the thing. Like, so, Samuel Clemens.
You know why
Mark
that doesn't
Twain.
work for me? Because tricks. I know I'm tricking myself. I know if I do that for 5 minutes, I know, but I get mad. So then I don't do the trick.
It's just like when I go to the gym when I'm mad, right? Like I go to the gym and I'm like, it almost aggravates me that that's the thing that resets me. Like, I don't want to go to the gym right now. I freaking hate going to the gym anyway. But then I make myself go to the gym and then I always feel better every freaking time that I go. And I know I'm tricking myself, but some of it is just biochemistry. It's remembering that your feelings are attached to your brain. And that if I can figure out the brain and what works, then who cares? So what I'll do is, Mark Twain says, first thing in the morning, swallow the frog, something like that. And that means like pick your hardest, most difficult task and do that. And when you don't want to do that, break it down into, can I do this for 5 minutes? Or can I put, if my house is a total disaster, like, can I put 5 things away? And then when you're done those 5 things, you have a question. That question is, can I do 5 more? And if you can, then do 5 more. If you're done, then you're done. And you at least got 5 things done. But those are like little tricks I use to kind of like keep my head from going too many places at once. And every once in a while, I'll just say, I just do an activity vomit. Which sounds disgusting, but I just allow myself to have 30 minutes, especially when there's a lot of like little tiny things that I have to do, like text this person back. I have to shoot this email. I just have to drop this thing in the mailbox. I have to walk this thing to the post office. I will allow myself 30 to 60 minutes to just do a whole bunch of little crap. And then it's like, I got to do, all right, I got to do that. Now I can go back into the tight bubble of total focus for as long as necessary.
All right. Our next question is coming from Ethan. Any tips or tricks for an undergraduate, sophomore in college, studying secondary education?
I think even the thing that I lacked at my college, anyway, I went to Rowan University, and Rowan has changed and grown a lot since I've been there. But when I was there in the late 90s, we didn't have access. It sounds so weird. We didn't have access to students until I think it was our senior year, maybe end of your junior year. But it just meant that everything else was theory. Like everything else you were learning about education was like theory. And it's like, that's like sitting in the locker room and learning about football and not getting to go on the field or like actually throw a football or catch a football or hit someone or learn how to tackle or run a play. Everything was theory. So that's problematic. If that is the case for you, and I know a number of other schools, like there's another Philly school called St. Joe's, and they do the kids are in like first semester of college. You're in schools in front of students, learning from teachers and like in the real world. If that is not a part of your experience, I would say it is finding ways to make that a part of your experience. Go out, contact teachers, contact schools, contact tutoring agencies, and find ways to get connected where you're actually either working with students or working with teachers that are working with students, but you're getting that real world feel. That's going to allow you to do two things. One, it might inspire you to see things and do things that you really love. And two, it may let you see stuff that it's like, oh, let's make a note of that because I definitely don't want to do that. And then take notes. Always, always, always be taking notes, whether it's on your phone, whether it's on, I like doing on my phone because I can keep everything organized digitally, but like, it's constantly taking notes and figuring out as you're going towards your first ever classroom, who do I want to be and who do I definitely not want to be when I get to my classroom. What's up, dude?
All right. Our next question is coming from Shayna. She's asking, this has been a hard start to the week. 2 out of something high school students were in a car accident heading to senior celebration at school and passed away. Oh, goodness. So sorry. One was in my math class last year. Oh, I don't know if that's a particular question, but
was there a second part? I mean, I can speak to that. Absolutely.
Yeah, go ahead. And I'll
so, Shana, first of all, like, that's something horrific. And I don't know, as teachers, I think, you know, like, let me just say this, and I'm really sorry that happened. Like, I'm really sorry for, like, and know that for what it's worth, we will actively pray for your school and those students and their parents. I mean, those are parents that like have lost their babies for forever. Like, and that sort of tragedy is something that, you know, some people are going to get over faster and some folks are going to take longer to get over. That I know, like, I remember when my mom passed, I was just after my 22nd birthday, my mom died. And like, everyone else kind of got back to life. I had friends that got back to life or wanted me to get back to life again. And I couldn't. Like, I was broken. I was literally broken after my mom died. And so going through that, what I learned was to have empathy with folks. And I even have to do this now. Like, my wife lost her dad 3 years ago, and it was all of a sudden heart attack, got a call one morning that he had passed. And I sometimes still think we're back to regular life and we're not. And so it's taking that time to like let people process how they're going to process. So that's going to be for you. It's going to be for other teachers. It's going to be for the students that are in a part of your community, and all your students and teachers are going to respond differently to this. But just keeping an eye out for those that still need the process, that still are hurting, that realizing that behaviors sometimes stem from these sorts of traumas. So it's being mindful of that. I think it's also, you know, as educators, we tend to push down our own feelings, our own needs, so that we can take care of kids. And I don't know that that's the move either. I think that it's really, really important for you to take care of yourself. You can only give what you've got. And so making sure that if you need to see a counselor, if you need to seek therapy, if you need to do whatever it is, talk to someone at your school. Like, if you're not even sure where to get a therapist, like, talk to your human resources department and find out, like, is this something that's covered by health insurance? Can I get it? How often should I do it? Like, find those things out so you are unpacking and dealing with your own hurt and your own pain, so that you can then in turn help other people. I think the other thing is making sure, like, look, we've had situations in our school where we've lost a lot, way too many young people, usually to gun violence. And when we show up at school, they always hire like some group to come in to like counsel the kids, and no kids ever want to go to those groups. And when I ask kids about that, like, they always say the same thing. They're like, I don't know those people. I'm not trusting them. And
interesting.
So
I was in high school, and we had, in my high school career, I had actually 2 really friends that were in my friend circle pass. One was a suicide and the other one was an overdose. And during those, the school support that they try to do, those counseling and those sort of things, like, just fell flat. I remember I tried to go and it was like so lame that I was like, yeah, this is so stupid. Why am I even here? No. And I left it, and then we went and did other things.
So what happens is you end up like my class and Flounders and Hannah, like our classes would be
But
filled
we
with
didn't
kids
even
that wanted to talk.
to be fair, like we didn't even have like teachers like that we felt connected to.
Yeah.
Like that didn't exist in my high school career. Like we had teachers that were like
Me either.
better than the others, but I didn't have ones that like that you have, the type of environment that these teachers that are in this community that create in their classrooms. We didn't have that. And so we literally cut school and went and hung out and did stuff elsewhere outside of school. But if we would have had that and could have gone to a classroom and been together, because we just wanted to be together, right? Essentially. But yeah, that's important.
So if I were a teacher in that high school at that time, I would have done one of two things: either gone to administration and said, "Hey, look, this isn't working. Like, we need a better place." And if that didn't work, if the school didn't do that, I would just grassroots it. I'd get all my people together and say, how are we handling this?
Which I think is typically what you even did at your school that you were at. Like, because there wasn't like your school didn't take that on and do it. It was
like movies on for a week and just create an open door policy.
Well, it's kind of where you got that like teaching as a communal activity, right? Like, because that's really, you just gather with all your teachers that
get together with your people and you figure it out yourselves. And I don't get mad at the school. I don't get upset. It's school is a school. Like,
yeah, we all know
they're going to do what they're going to do.
Systems are.
But doesn't mean I have to follow it. Like, I'm here for kids. I'm trying to help kids thrive.
Yeah.
And so I think that's some of what happens in that experience.
Take care of yourself during that time, Shayna. That's really hard too. When you're loving all of those people, you have to make sure to love and care for yourself.
Absolutely. It's easier said than done.
Yep. All right. Our next question is coming from Ash. First year teacher here, middle school ELA starting Thursday. Yay. I won't know anything about my school's expectations or curriculum till Tuesday. What are some things that I should try to prep now on my own?
Ash, first of all, this is not acceptable. This is, I get it. No, I don't. Get it.
It happens. You've been there. You've had it happen to you, right?
At my first job, I finally got the curriculum. Do you remember this?
I do.
They gave me the scope and sequence, and it looked like someone made a Xerox and then made a copy after they made a copy while someone kept shaking their arms.
Read it.
It was like, what? This looks like a treasure map.
You were like, what am I supposed to do with this?
I can't read any of the words. I don't even know what the hell this says. And when I asked for another copy, like, yeah, it's the only one we have left. What? My man, what? Like,
this is your main copy?
Yes.
This is the copy that I'm going to make copies from?
The Declaration of Independence is in better shape than this, and that's 200 years old. Like, what are we doing here? So, so I get it. So here's what I would do. I would plan out my first week and have it do nothing to do with the curriculum. So, like, one of the things I love to do, and look, one of the things, and let's talk about the workshops right after this, because I think it's going to play into this. One of the things we're going to do is we did a back to school boot camp, and it was a live experience. And then I've had a whole bunch of people ask me since then, like, could they still purchase it? We're figuring out right now the logistics of that, but we're going to have that up for purchase in case anyone wasn't able to do it or didn't think they wanted to do it, but now they're thinking, yeah, I do want to do it. And that comes with all the resources and everything. So in that, I talk about how I roll out my first week, and none of it has anything to do with curriculum. We're not learning like any traditional way in the beginning of the school year. So I do things like the Life Odyssey. I do stuff like really deeply getting to know my students and having conversations with them around things, going over the syllabus. There's a different way that I kind of like blend into the school year than, so that some of that came out of not having anything to start the school year with, or not having books, or not knowing what room I was going to be in, or how many classes I was teaching, or when they would like, when school springs on you that, oh yeah, by the way, you're teaching 2 sections of senior English. And you're like, what? Huh? What? Like, school starts tomorrow. What the hell are you talking about? Yeah, well, someone quit. Now we need you to take over. So that's that. I would say going forward, so that I would figure out some things that you could do, like the Life Odyssey, to help you through that. The other thing is in going forward. And so look, can I ask a question of everyone in the chat too? If you could give Ash, this is Ash Martinez, you see the profile pic on here. If you could give them some ideas on how, like, some things you do that don't necessarily tie into your curriculum. What are some ways that you start the year off? I think that would be really, really helpful and useful to them as well. But for folks that like are in this similar situation, Next year, you need to make sure that this does not happen. I push until I get an answer. I want to know what room I'm in, how many classes I'm teaching. I don't care that you didn't get the schedule done yet. I didn't care. I don't care that your calendar's not done yet. I don't care that you're backed up. It is your job as a leader to make sure that things are rolling. Like, we're following you. And when you don't even know where we're going, how we're getting there, how many people are going to sit in the car, am I sitting in the middle? Are we taking a bus? Are we hitchhiking? Like, you got to let me know what the plan is. That is the leadership's job, to be able to have that vision and know how they're going to implement it. And so I push all the time, and you can do this nicely. Yo, it's Reynolds again, just wondering, like, how many classes am I teaching this year? Or am I still in room 106 or whatever the hell I want to know? It's just asking in a very nice and consistent way. I think email's better than verbal, because then it's like, just keep responding to the same email, and then you have a written confirmation also of all the times that you've asked to do something or asked for clarity on something. But I think that that's important too, that sometimes, sometimes, look, and this is no diss to leadership, there's a lot going on. But sometimes there are things that you just forget, or you forgot that someone asked you that, or you were in the middle of 7 things and someone asked you in the hallway. So sending a written reminder and then just following up. Like that's something I've really learned from business also, is that I've worked with certain brands that when they needed something like a deliverable finished and sent, I've worked with people that are like, hey, just staying on top of your inbox, just curious what's going on with this. And that's it. It's just like a nice, gentle reminder of what is needed.
All right. Our next question is coming from John Fox.
John Fox.
Favorite novels for middle schoolers? Just a great story, great character, and written in a way that keeps kids interested the whole way.
I'm old, John. So everything I have is old. I loved Where the Red Fern Grows, one of my favorite stories of my life. To the point where, like, if I had a poster in my room around that, I would have it. What are you thinking?
I was thinking, would that still hold true today for kids?
I think it's a great book. Okay. Yeah.
Well, they have some suggestions on here with The Outsiders, Percy Jackson.
Percy Jackson's good. Love The Giver, but hated the end. I'm not like a, oh, what do you think happened at the end person? No, I want to know. Just tell me what happened.
And see, I'm the opposite. I like those.
No, I can't. Like,
I know.
The book just ends and you're like, what happened? What the hell just took place? Like,
I feel like Randy's Instagram would be a really good one to follow, because he's always, since that's his YA is his jam.
Yeah.
He's an all YA author. He's a great person to follow, because he's always sharing new books that come out, because he's always on like the new and recent that's coming out. So I think he's a really great Instagram. CJ's gonna pull that up for you to follow.
Yeah.
And
so
he's got a couple of YA books that have done really, really well. So
books. My friend Randy Rebai, he is a Filipino writer. He is incredible dude. And so this is his Instagram. Can we see that?
I'll just get it to focus on that.
I need to get my big head out of there. This is really great. This is some technological.
There it goes.
If you follow Randy, he will constantly put you onto books that he is reading. He reads ferociously. Him and his wife, they read like crazy. And I would even say this: you can go over there and DM him and say, Reynolds told me to DM you and ask you what books my middle school students should read, or what your recommendations are.
And he'll give you probably a whole list. He's awesome.
He'll be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I would do.
All right. So our next question comes
from... sometimes I got the answer, and sometimes I just know the person that has the answer. That's how we roll. So I don't have the...
We don't have all the answers.
Take that life advice.
All right. Sandra is asking, I teach German ESL in Austria, and things are completely different. Each period has their room and they stay there all day. How can I organize myself/lesson materials if the classroom isn't mine?
So Sandra, it's I've heard of this model before, and there's a number of different countries that do it. Where, like,
I feel like they even talked about that during COVID in the States. Like, what if we have students just all stay and teachers rotate?
Which I mean made sense, but like
it does.
It's hard for kids anyway. That's like the whether or not the model is a good idea is
not the question.
There, right? Yeah. So I think that I would do one of two things. I would have multiple sets of things that you need and like keep them in that room, or I would just get like a really cool cart and push my stuff around with me. I've significantly pared down my essentials. So like I could probably fit in a book bag what would be my absolute essentials. With the exception of like, I really like those really big Post-it note, like giant sticky paper things. But everything else I would just like probably have like a little, I'd ask for, I would ask in the room. I don't know if this is a possibility. Can you have a wall? Can you have a corner? And it's like, this is my corner. And in my corner, this is where my things stay. This is where I post assignments or things that you should be working on, or due dates, or a calendar, or whatever it is. But I have like this, the most cool corner you could ever imagine, with like, it has like shelves on it and a special light, and like you really like dial it in and make it really awesome. And then in each room, you just have a corner. And that would be fairly inexpensive, especially if you can get the school to pay for your stuff, or if you use Donors Choose and you get things like done, or, you know, we're teachers, we make something from nothing all the time. So that would be kind of how I would do that. And then you still have a place where you feel like you have like a little bit of ownership when you go there. Like it's a timeshare or something like that.
Timeshare in the class.
I'm wondering if anyone else does that too. I'm going to throw it back to everyone again. Does anyone have any suggestions for Sandra that would be helpful if you are the one moving from classroom to classroom and the students are the ones staying in the class? This could even be something that, like, if you're a co-teacher, you're probably in the same position. If you're a para, you might be in the same sort of position too, where you're like constantly moving. If you teach like a special, like I know like sometimes art teachers don't have an art room, but they're moving from room to room and stuff. Like, how do you kind of do that sort of thing?
That's so hard for
without
art
losing
to
your
do.
mind.
Yeah. She said that's a really common it's a common practice in Austria.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So the other thing I've done too is like, I've had places where I just like find a lone closet in the school that no one's using. Sometimes I ask for permission and sometimes I don't. And I just take over the closet or the little space. I once took over our school's entire basement because no one went down there. And then they cleaned it out after I got down there because they were like, oh yeah, look, this is usable. Let's do this. Thanks, Reynolds.
Careful, that might backfire on you.
Real quick, before we jump into this next question, we are having, we're trying to meet people's requests. Everything we've ever done on this channel has been by request. It's the Facebook group, a request. The writing a book, a request. More videos, live feeds, all the stuff is mentoring is all come out of people asking for it. So what we're getting a lot now is the back to school boot camp went really well. It was 2 nights talking about classroom management and how to build relationships with students. It went really well by all accounts that we heard from anyway. No one asked for a refund. So what we want to do is do 3 more. We're going to do them every other week, starting mid-September. I forget the date off the top of my head, which is not really good marketing. But my daughter's birthday is on the September 15th. So we tried to go around that. I think maybe it was September 11th. Anyway, they will be available to begin purchasing this week. We'll make a big deal out of it. And they're going to focus on 3 key sections that when I asked folks, these were the 3 things that folks asked for trainings about or workshop about the most. So that's going to be lesson planning. It's going to be lesson planning 101, how I basically create a unit plan from scratch and create that. Now, what I'm doing this for, I teach high school literature, but I think that this is going to be applicable to anyone that from middle school, I'd say 6th grade and above, at least. I think even if you don't, you're going to find some nuggets in there that it's going to make it 100% worth your while. If you do sign up for it and it's like, you're like, no, this is not, like, I teach kindergarten, this isn't working, just, we'll give you your money back. But like, we're just trying to create something that to the best of our ability, it will be as in depth as humanly possible. But in 45 minutes, I'm not going to be able to get through every single thing. But it's like, how do I create a unit plan? How do I get everything done in 5 to 6 weeks? How do I set up assessments? How do I make sure that I'm getting through everything? How do I pace myself? How am I making sure that this is fun? How am I making sure that I'm differentiating everything that I need to differentiate? How am I implementing IEPs? Like it is packed full with information, but that's one. The other one is student engagement. So there's planning a lesson, and then there's creating engagement in the classroom. And engagement's not just about creating fun. So that's going to be something we're going to work on as well. And then the third thing is going to be how to roll out routines, policies, and procedures. Now, I realize that's a little bit late for some of you, but some of you have an idea of what you wanted to do, and you're going to find things that work, and you're going to find things that didn't work as well. And so how can it is my belief that you can regroup and relaunch a classroom at any point in the year, to get it rolling on in a way that is systematized, and you're constantly optimizing those systems. And it's going to have your classroom going from either from disaster to good or from good to great, is my promise in doing this. So that's something that we're going to roll out. We're going to have one every other week, so that it's not like and I think we're going to do these on Saturdays. Is that like when I polled people, it was like either Sunday night, Saturday morning, or Thursday night.
It was surprising that most people were down for Saturday. We were like trying to be cautious about not taking up people's Saturdays.
Well, you were even like, you're like, would you want to do something on a Saturday? And I was like, no, you're right. And so I just put it out there for a poll, and overwhelming response was Saturday morning. So I was really surprised. So, and there'll only be 45 minutes with a 15-minute Q&A on the back end of it. So if you only have an hour, then you can go out and go pumpkin picking or eat,
all the family
pumpkin lattes or whatever,
or go get your nails done.
Yeah. So all that stuff can happen, and then there'll be resources. Anything I mention in it, that resource will be available as part.
And look, if you guys want anything, like we said, we create this stuff because people have asked for it. People want deeper trainings than just what a YouTube video can do, and things of that nature. So we're developing more and more things, but hopefully with just you in mind, and whatever teachers want or people want to be served. So that's the goal. So if you ever need anything, or feel like you want something from us, something new or different, a direction, a video, like email us, like send an email. We love suggestions. So
literally all of our YouTube videos come from viewer suggestions.
Yeah.
I don't think of any of them anymore. It's like,
I think you used to.
I used to. And then we were like, oh, we have a Facebook group with 5,000 people in it. Why don't we just ask them, or just look at what everyone's talking about and just make a video on this?
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what's coming up. It will be available this week. I thought I was going to have it ready by today, but there was all kinds of like unforeseen insanity that has been happening this week. Like the fact that we all have to live on the first floor because we have one air conditioner, and it's been hotter than,
and our dog is now, we'd realized, is allergic to ground beef. We found out,
and he was pooping straight blood the other day.
And
so I went from the emergency room for humans for something else to emergency room for my dog. It's
been a crazy week here.
So it's not ready for today.
All right, let's answer a few more questions.
Let's do it.
We are past an hour. All right. Enjoy Life is asking, my class sizes are ridiculous. Average size now is 35, and administration keeps adding plates. I feeling like the plate might eventually topple. Fighting the good fight, but it is only September. Any advice how to make it through the year? Trying to sprinkle magic, but the bag of tricks is running low. Thanks for this channel.
You got it. So first of all, thank you for saying that. I'm happy to do this. One is, I'm going to say this again, right? So some of my answers are just how to handle like the things that are given to you. There is something to pushing back against administration, and it's not a bad thing. But when you see things that are not right, when you see things that are not happening, that shouldn't be happening, that are against children, that are against the mission, that are the opposite of what you're supposed to be doing, pushing back and saying, hey, listen, I don't know if anyone noticed this or not, but we have 35 kids in a classroom, right? Like this is, I don't know in what world you think that this, you can say it nicer than this. This is just how this is how my brain says it. And then like, I'm going
the filter
in there.
happens later.
This is what I'm about to tell them, and then I get in there. I'm like, hey, just a quick question for everyone. I have 35 students in the class, and I'm not really sure how this is, like when you're thinking about this, when you're planning this, when this is coming out, like how is this conducive to like best learning practices? Like this can't work. There's not enough groups in a room. And if you have groups of that's 7 groups of 5 kids, right? That is loud. You can't go other places in the school. Like if you want 35 kids walking down the hallway to somewhere else is a lot. Now, look, I've seen teachers like do this and do it well. I taught with a guy once who had 50 students that he taught at a time, in seniors, in the lunchroom. My man Nick Pascal, right?
Oh, is that who did it?
Nick did it.
Of course he could do it. He
amazing. Was like the kid whisperer.
Mm-hmm.
They were just all paying attention, super quiet. He didn't use a microphone or anything. I'm like, bro, you're unbelievable. Like, so he was incredible.
I would want to say it's because he's so handsome. Every girl was probably like, oh.
It was all boys.
I know. I didn't. But
maybe some of the kids were, but like, and he was like super sharp dresser. Yeah, he is super handsome.
He's the best. He's like all around.
But he's
one of
just
those guys.
he's just incredible. So anyway, that can happen, but should it happen? Right? Just because we can do something doesn't mean we should do something. So I think pushing back, asking questions, and making sure that, you know, that's one thing. Two, it's should all the students that are in there be in there, right? Should some kids, I've had classes that were 31, 32 kids, and I had students that had such high needs with regards to an IEP or a 504 that there's no way this is conducive to them, right? That like you get a class that size and a bunch of IEPs that say student has to have preferential seating, right? There's not enough preferential seating in the classroom to facilitate that need, right? So it's really going and asking back. The other thing is, you know, if that can't happen, there is a part of me that that still exists, even though I really like the pushing back part. It still exists where it's like, and 35 kids in a class, let these kids know that this is uncommon first. We're gonna have a conversation. Yo, I need everyone to listen up. I need you on me in 4, 3. Thank you very much. Listen, we all realize that this is too many people in one class. There's 35 kids in this class, and there's 28 seats. And there's a lot of teachers that wouldn't be able to handle this. There's a lot of teachers that would just go home and cry or drink 2 bottles of wine, or maybe just get a whole box of wine and not be able to handle this. But I'm telling you that we're going to still make this the greatest class ever this year. But to do that, we need to do that together. This is not a me running the show, right? If this is a circus, I could be the ringleader, but y'all are like the acrobats and the people wrestling bears and stuff like that. Like, how can we make this the best class of the year? Listen to what the students have to say, listen to what they need and what they want, and then come in, take that information, go home over the weekend, think about how you're going to implement it, and then come back in on Monday. All right, y'all, listen, this is crazy. This is the craziest, right? Here's what we're fighting against. Here's where we're trying to get to. This is what you said. Here's what we're going to do this year. I want you to know that I listened to every single thing. Some of these things are immediately applicable to our class. Some things we're going to have to grow over time. And some of your ideas like will come later in the year. But here's how we're going to start this off. And it's really creating something that you all feel like you're fighting this good fight together. And that like everyone loves an underdog story, right? There's a reason that they keep making Rocky movies over and over and over again. And then they've made tons and tons of movies that were just like Rocky, but it was somebody else in a different place. But it is collectively going in on something together and getting your students like almost excited about that. Where like, yo, they think that they're going to put like, I've had classes where everyone knows they're like, yo, this is every bad kid in the 9th grade in here together. And I'm like, yep, they did it on purpose. And guess what? Let's have the best class ever. Let's have every single time they walk in, they're like, damn, yo, what? Like, where even are we? Like, and so I love that idea. It gets me excited even talking about it, but it gets kids excited to like, yo, they thought this was going to be a problem. Watch what happens now, and then doing it. And I think that that's one of the only other ways. Now, look, there's ways to systematize, and that's something like we'll talk about in workshops. I've made a ton of videos on this, on like how to kind of wrangle that many kittens at one time. But like, that's a much, much longer conversation. Can we do one more? Mm-hmm. Do one more.
All right. Sean is asking, I want to teach my students that respect is the number one rule in the classroom and that all respect is grounded in empathy for others. What are some engaging novels to teach empathy to students?
Oh my gosh, that's a really wonderful question. Sean, that's going to take me a minute, that one.
Well, it looked like he got some recommendations in here. So, and I don't know what they are because I can't like dig through the comments fast enough. I Am Human by Susan Verde. It's not a novel, but it works.
Yeah.
wonder. Oh, that's probably a great book to teach that.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're not going to use a book, what would be your other method? Like, how would you teach that? Because that's your rule, right?
It is my rule. It
Give
starts
respect
with me, where I'm the one giving respect, and then I am the example to that. I think that's a good question. I mean, I don't have a quick answer for that.
I like that you're stumped.
I
How am I supposed to end on one that you get stumped on?
But I think my answer is the way I teach empathy is by walking kids through it in real life, right? It's like literally looking at situations and seeing someone getting bullied, seeing someone getting picked on, finding out that someone's getting low key, like disrespected, finding out that, I just, and then creating spaces for those kids where, like, one of the things, and I talk about this in the book also, reminds me of remember Krabby Patty and his crew would come into my class at the end of the school day and they'd play Gaga every day, and they'd bring in like wigs. This is like LGBTQ plus community, like plus. Like they were on some different level with how they were just so incredible and so open about who they were. But part of that was because they were given safe places in the school. And so one of those places, I am not the be all end all of this. And I'm not looking,
one, right? You're one out of the school.
Person, right? But these dudes would all come into my classroom every day after school. They'd blast Gaga and they would bring in like wigs and platforms and outfits. They'd be like walking around and showing each other like what makeup they were doing. Like Krabby Patty did like all that crazy eye makeup that was,
he
like,
loved makeup.
That stuff was some next level. Like, I don't even know what we're looking at type time. And so at that same time, I would have all the lacrosse players and the football players in my room after school too. And I remember one day, these two twins, the Davis twins, came in and AC was walking around. He had this wig on that looked like it was going to touch the floor. And he is catwalking all over my classroom. And the Davis twins come in and they're like, "Yo, Reynolds, you get down with this?" And I was like, and I just said, "This room is a safe space for everybody, bro. Like for you and for them." And he was like, they were like, "All right, cool." And they left. But then I thought they were like, "We're not doing this." They went and got food at the corner store and came back. And then everyone ate together. They were like all sharing fries and stuff like that. And
so for you, it's about giving opportunities.
It is this experiential moment where it's not just always embedded in the lessons, although that is important. It's what are we doing in real life, in real type time, where are you creating a safe space for kids to eat lunch, for kids to hang out after school, before school, that kids know that certain dudes, like Don't Smile Kyle, one of my favorite guys of all time, like Kyle no one was allowed to mess with him. Right. And I instilled that so deeply in kids that like everyone would stand up for Kyle. Like no one messed with Kyle ever. They only ever supported him and thought he was the greatest. So it's about that kind of real world. So that's why I'm getting a little like stuck on that, because that's not how I teach empathy. Although I'm not against it. I think it's a good idea. I just go about it a different way. Are we good? I can keep going, but like,
no, you brought that. You
did I fix that one?
You saved face on that one. I brought it back around.
Can you pull that down?
Yes.
So look, gang, before you go, just know that this week you're going to see a number of different workshops coming up. Let us know. Like if there's anything else that you want to do, you can reach us right by going to realrapwithreynolds.com. There's a little contact thing. The contact thing just shoots you right to my email. You could just email us also at realrapwithreynolds@gmail.com, and someone from our team will get back to you typically within 48 hours. That's our, but it's hard.
Depends on how crazy it is.
It's hard sometimes. And if you need anything else, the Facebook group is really the spot, man. Go to the Facebook group, drop your question in there. And look, I talked to someone yesterday. I'm not going to put them on blast. If you know other people in the Facebook group, right? There's other people from your school in there. You can post something anonymously. When you do it, when you choose to do anonymous, all it does is my wife is typically the one who's on top of this. It sends your question to my wife. She just has to approve it so that we don't have people in there that are like anonymously like Satan rules, and I just think some derogatory.
It comes in right. That's so why I have to approve it.
Mm-hmm. That's the only reason it's set up that way. But you can just go in and post things anonymously as well, and then you can get all the help that you need. Anything else, wife?
Nope.
Great. You're a great co-host.
Oh, thanks. I try.
I really like doing this. When are we going to get you on camera?
When we get an office and a studio, and we can
maybe we can blur you.
Like I'm like
You'll be there, but you'll
like a
be,
protective witness.
Yeah.
Can we background
we'll
backlight
change your
me?
voice and stuff like that. Yeah, you'll be like one of those people like from a commercial. or
No,
something like that.
we've been doing this long enough now for like 6 years. I'm like, I think I could probably maybe
Good.
do it.
You're gonna
We'll
have to.
see.
You have to. I feel like you're going to feel pressure to like.
Oh yeah,
yourself
like get a
together.
shower and get, because that's normally not how I look. I'm
All right.
regular mom life blown
The
up.
sign went out. That means the show is over. We'll see you next week, gang. Bring your friends if you need it. And have a really great weekend. Peace.